I never thought I'd be the kind of guy writing one of these posts, but here I am at 4 in the morning, unable to sleep, with a whiskey in my hand and a story that needs to come out. My name is Daniel, and 6 months ago I discovered that my girlfriend of 4 years was cheating on me. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is that she was seeing someone else while I was working 16-hour days to save up money to buy her a car. And what I did about it? Well, let's just say karma had a little help this time. I met Rachel when we were both 23. I was working as an assistant manager at a tech startup, making decent money but nothing crazy, and she was finishing her last semester of college. We met at a mutual friends party, one of those typical how we met stories that sound sweet until everything turns sour. She was gorgeous, funny, smart, everything I thought I wanted. We clicked immediately. Within 3 months we were saying I love you. Within 6 months she'd moved into my apartment. Those first 2 years were good. Really good. We had our problems like any couple, but nothing major. She graduated, got a job as a marketing coordinator at a local firm, and things seemed to be falling into place. We talked about marriage, about buying a house, about the future. I was all in. Completely, stupidly, naively all in. Rachel had been complaining about her car for over a year. It was this beat-up 2008 Honda Civic that she'd had since high school, constantly breaking down, costing more in repairs than it was worth. Every few weeks it was something new. The transmission, the brakes, the electrical system. I'd spent hundreds of dollars helping her fix it, driving her to work when it wouldn't start, listening to her stress about whether it would make it through another winter. I just wish I could afford a new car, she'd say, scrolling through listings on her phone. Or even a newer used one. Something reliable, you know? Something I don't have to worry about dying on the highway. I know, babe, I'd tell her. We'll figure it out. About 8 months ago, I decided I was going to make it happen. I was going to save up enough money to buy her a car. Not brand new, but something good, something she could rely on for years. I did the math and figured if I could save about $15,000, I could get her something really nice, maybe a 2019 Toyota Corolla or a Honda Accord, low mileage, certified pre-owned. The problem was we didn't have much in savings. Most of my paycheck went to rent, bills, groceries, the normal stuff. If I wanted to save 15 grand in 6 months, I'd need to make extra money. A lot of extra money. So I started picking up every overtime shift I could get. My job involved managing our tech support team, and there were always opportunities for extra hours, especially on weekends and late nights. I started working 60, sometimes 70-hour weeks. I'd come home exhausted, barely able to keep my eyes open, but every time I transferred another $1,000 into the car fund, it felt worth it. Daniel, you're working too much, Rachel would say, but she didn't really push back. I appreciate what you're doing, but I don't want you to burn yourself out. It's fine, I'd tell her. Just a few more months and we'll have enough. I want to do this for you. She'd kiss me and tell me I was the best boyfriend ever, and I'd feel like a hero. Like I was being a good partner, a good provider. Like I was building something with her. What I didn't know was that while I was working those 16-hour days, Rachel was spending her evenings with someone else. I found out on a Tuesday night in April. I'd picked up an overnight shift doing system maintenance that was supposed to run until 6 in the morning, but we finished early around 2. I was exhausted and decided to head home instead of staying to milk the extra hours. I figured I'd surprise Rachel, maybe crawl into bed and actually sleep next to her for once instead of leaving before she woke up and coming home after she was asleep. I parked on the street instead of in my usual spot in the building's garage because I was too tired to drive down the ramp. When I got to our apartment and put my key in the door, I heard something that made my blood run cold. Voices. Rachel's voice, and a man's voice. At first, my brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe she was watching TV. Maybe it was her brother who'd come to visit. Maybe it was literally anything except what I knew in my gut it was. I opened the door quietly. The living room was dark, but I could see the light from our bedroom spilling into the hallway. The voices got clearer. Rachel was laughing, that breathy laugh she did when she was flirting. We have to be quiet, she was saying. Daniel's working overnight, but sometimes he comes home early. Don't worry about Daniel, a man's voice said, and then there were sounds I'd heard 1,000 times before. The sounds Rachel made when she was being intimate with someone. I don't really remember walking down the hallway. My body just moved on autopilot. I pushed open the bedroom door, already knowing what I'd see but somehow still not prepared for it. Rachel was in our bed, with some guy I'd never seen before. They were so focused on each other that it took them a few seconds to notice me standing there. When Rachel finally looked up and saw me, her face went white. "Daniel," she gasped, scrambling away from the guy and grabbing for the sheets. "Oh my God, Daniel, Get out," I said to the guy. My voice sounded calm, which was weird because inside I felt like I was having a stroke. "Get out of my apartment right now." The guy, whoever he was, didn't need to be told twice. He grabbed his clothes and practically ran out of the room, not even bothering to get fully dressed. I heard the front door slam a minute later. Rachel was crying now, clutching the sheet to her chest. "Daniel, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" I asked. "Explain how you're with someone else in our bed. In the bed I paid for. In the apartment I've been working 70-hour weeks to afford while I save money to buy you a car." "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything." "How long?" I interrupted. "How long has this been going on?" She didn't answer, just kept crying. "How long, Rachel?" 3 months, she whispered. 3 months. I'd been killing myself with overtime for 6 months, and for half of that time, she'd been cheating on me. While I was at work, exhausted, thinking about how happy she'd be when I surprised her with a car, she was bringing someone else into our home, into our bed. "Get out," I said. "Daniel, please, we can work through this. Get out of my apartment. Now. Tonight. Take whatever you can carry and get out. You can get the rest later." "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't care. Call your boyfriend. Call your friends. Call your parents. But you're not staying here." I left the bedroom before I said or did something I'd regret. I sat in the living room while she packed a bag, listening to her cry, feeling absolutely nothing. I was numb. Hollow. For years together, and this was how it ended. She came out 20 minutes later with a duffel bag, her eyes red and puffy. "Daniel, please, I love you. We can fix this." "No," I said. "We can't. And you don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this." She left, and I sat alone in the apartment until the sun came up, trying to process what had just happened. The next few days were a blur. I called in sick to work, which I never did. I couldn't eat. I barely slept. I kept replaying everything in my head, analyzing every moment of the past few months, looking for signs I'd missed. And there were signs. So many signs. All those nights she'd told me not to worry about coming home for dinner because she'd already eaten with friends. The way she'd started dressing nicer, wearing more makeup. The times I'd tried to call her during my breaks and she hadn't answered. The way she'd become more distant during our intimate moments on the rare occasions we actually had them. I'd explained it all away. She was eating with friends because I was never home for dinner anyway. She was dressing nicer because she felt good about herself. She wasn't answering because she was busy. She was distant because we were both tired and stressed. But it wasn't that. It was never that. She was cheating, and I'd been too trusting, too stupid, too blind to see it. Rachel tried to contact me constantly. Text messages, phone calls, emails. I ignored all of them. Her friends reached out, trying to mediate, telling me that Rachel was devastated and that everyone makes mistakes. I blocked them too. A week after I kicked her out, she came by to get the rest of her stuff. I'd packed it all in boxes and left it by the door. I didn't want to see her, didn't want to talk to her. But she knocked anyway, and like an idiot, I answered. "Can we please talk?" she asked. She looked terrible, like she hadn't slept since I kicked her out. Part of me felt satisfied. Most of me felt nothing. There's nothing to talk about. I want to explain. You already explained. You've been seeing someone else for 3 months. What else is there to say? I was confused, Rachel said desperately. Work was stressful and you were never home and I felt alone and I made a horrible mistake. But it's over now. I ended it with him. I want to be with you. You ended it because you got caught. No, I ended it because I realized I love you. Daniel, please. 4 years together. That has to mean something. It did mean something, I said. Until you destroyed it. She started crying again. I used to hate seeing her cry. Now I just felt tired. I was going to surprise you, I heard myself say. I was 2 weeks away from having enough money to buy you a car. That's why I was working so much. Every overtime shift, every late night, every weekend. I was doing it for you. And you were cheating on me. Her face crumpled. Oh God, Daniel. Take your stuff and leave, Rachel. Don't contact me again. I closed the door in her face and listened to her sob in the hallway for 10 minutes before she finally left. After that, I threw myself into work even harder than before. Not because I needed the money anymore, but because I needed the distraction. If I was working, I wasn't thinking about her. I wasn't remembering the sound of her voice in our bedroom with someone else. I wasn't replaying 4 years of memories and wondering how much of it was real. But I also started thinking about the money. That $15,000 sitting in the car fund account. Money I'd earned destroying my body and my sleep schedule. Money I'd saved for a woman who'd betrayed me. Money that was technically mine, but that felt tainted somehow, connected to all the pain and humiliation. I didn't want to just keep it. That felt wrong, like I'd be letting her win somehow. I wanted to do something that would make this whole nightmare mean something. That's when I had the idea. Rachel's parents had never liked me much. They thought she was too good for me, that she should have dated someone with more money, better prospects, someone from a better family. Her dad was a retired executive who'd made good money, and her mom was a former model who'd never worked a regular job in her life. They'd made their disapproval clear from the start, always making little comments about my job, my apartment, my clothes. Daniel works in tech support? That's nice, her mom had said the first time we met, her voice dripping with condescension. He's a manager, Rachel had corrected. And he's really good at his job. I'm sure he is, dear. Her parents had paid for her college, bought her that old car when she was 16, paid for her apartment before she moved in with me. They were used to solving her problems with money, and I'm sure they assumed that once she got tired of being with me, she'd come back to them and they'd find her someone more suitable. I'd always wanted to prove them wrong, to show them that I could take care of their daughter, that I was good enough for her. The car was supposed to be part of that. A big gesture that showed I could provide, that I was serious about our future. But forget that. Forget them, and forget Rachel. I spent a week researching charities. I wanted to find something meaningful, something that would actually help people, something that would make the money count for something more than my own bitterness. I found a local organization that provided support for single mothers, women who'd left abusive relationships, who were struggling to get on their feet. They offered childcare assistance, job training, help with rent and utilities, transportation to job interviews. Real, tangible help that changed lives. I called them and set up a meeting. When I explained that I wanted to make a donation, the director looked like she might cry. $15,000 would be incredible, she said. Do you know how many women we could help with that? We could fund our childcare program for 6 months, or help a dozen families with rent assistance, or, she stopped herself. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. This is just amazing. Thank you so much. There's one condition, I said. I want to make the donation in someone else's name. I donated all $15,000 in Rachel's name. The charity sent her a letter, thanking her for her generous donation and explaining how the money would be used. They put her name on their donor recognition wall. They invited her to their annual fundraising gala as a VIP guest. Rachel called me, confused and panicking. Daniel, I got this letter from a charity saying I donated $15,000. What did you do? I donated the money I saved for your car, I said calmly. In your name. You what? That's my money. Actually, it's my money. I earned every cent of it. But I figured since you were such a big part of why I saved it, your name should be on the donation. You had no right to do that. I could use that money. My car is barely running and... Yeah, well, maybe you should have thought about that before you betrayed me in our bed. This is insane. You're insane. No, Rachel, I'm done. I'm done with you, done with what you did, done with carrying around this anger. That money was tainted. Every dollar reminded me of how stupid I was to trust you. So I gave it to someone who actually deserves it. Women who are trying to rebuild their lives after being betrayed and hurt. Seemed appropriate. My parents are going to find out about this. They're going to think I made some huge donation and they're going to. Yeah, I said. They are. And you can tell them the truth, that I donated it in your name, and they'll ask why, and you'll have to explain that you cheated on me. Or you can take credit for the donation and let them think you did something good for once in your privileged life. Either way, I don't care. She was quiet for a long moment. I hate you. Good. Now we are even. I hung up and blocked her number. That was 6 months ago. I heard through mutual friends that Rachel did end up telling her parents the truth, and that they were furious. Apparently, her dad threatened to cut her off if she pulled something like this again, whatever that meant. She's dating someone new now, some guy who works in finance, probably exactly the type her parents wanted for her in the first place. I'm doing okay. Better than okay, actually. I cut back on the overtime, started focusing on my own life for once. I got promoted to senior manager with a significant raise. I moved to a new apartment, one that doesn't have a ghost in every corner. I started going to therapy, which I probably should have done years ago, working through the trust issues and the anger and the feeling that I'd wasted 4 years of my life. I went on a few dates, nothing serious yet, but I'm not in a hurry. I'm learning to be alone, to be okay with just myself, to not define my worth by whether someone else loves me. Last month, the charity invited me to their fundraising gala. The director had figured out that I was the real donor and wanted to thank me in person. I almost didn't go, but something made me say yes. It was held at a hotel downtown, full of people who donated money or time, full of the women the organization had helped. I felt out of place at first, surrounded by all these people doing actual good in the world while I was just a guy who donated money out of spite. But then I met some of the women the charity had helped. Women who'd left abusive marriages with nothing but the clothes on their backs and their kids. Women who'd been homeless, who'd been scared and alone and didn't know how they'd survive. Women who, because of donations like mine, had been able to get back on their feet, find jobs, find housing, rebuild their lives. One woman, Maria, came up to me. The director had pointed me out as the donor behind Rachel's contribution. "Thank you," Maria said, her eyes shining. "Because of people like you, I was able to afford childcare while I went through job training. I start as a medical assistant next month. My kids and I have an apartment. We are safe. We have a chance. Thank you." I didn't know what to say. I donated the money to hurt Rachel, to make a point, to do something with all that anger and pain. I hadn't really thought about the actual people it would help. "I'm glad I could help," I managed. "You changed my life," Maria said simply. That night, driving home from the gala, I realized something. Rachel had betrayed me in the worst way possible. She'd taken my trust, my love, my sacrifice, and she'd thrown it away for something meaningless. And yeah, what I did with the money was partly about revenge, about making her name be associated with something she didn't do, about showing her parents who she really was. But it was also the best thing I could have done with that money. Better than buying a car for someone who didn't appreciate it. Better than keeping it and letting it sit in an account reminding me of my pain. Better than spending it on myself out of spite. I'd turned something ugly into something good. I'd taken the worst moment of my life and made it mean something. I still think about Rachel sometimes. About what we had, about what went wrong, about whether there were things I could have done differently. But mostly I think about how lucky I am that I found out when I did. Before I proposed, before we got married, before we had kids. Before I wasted even more years on someone who didn't value me. She took a lot from me. My trust, my time, my peace of mind, for years of my life. But I took something back. Not just the money, though that was satisfying in its own way. I took back my power. I took back my narrative. I refused to let her betrayal define me or destroy me. I'm not going to lie and say I'm grateful for what happened. I'm not one of those people who's like, it was a blessing in disguise or everything happens for a reason. What Rachel did was wrong and there's no silver lining that makes it okay. But I survived it. I got through it. And I turned it into something that helped other people survive and get through their own struggles. That's not nothing. A few weeks ago, I was at a coffee shop working on my laptop when someone sat down across from me. I looked up, annoyed that someone was invading my space, and froze. It was Rachel. "Hi, Daniel," she said quietly. "What do you want?" "I saw your name in the charity newsletter. The director wrote about you, about the real donor behind my donation, about how you turned something painful into something beautiful. She paused. That was really good of you. I didn't do it to be good. I did it because I didn't want your money. It wasn't my money. It was yours. You earned it. Rachel looked down at her coffee. I know I don't deserve to ask this, and you can tell me to leave, but can I just say something? You have 5 minutes. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for what I did. There are no excuses. I betrayed you in the worst way possible, and I have to live with that. I hurt someone who loved me, who was sacrificing for me, who was trying to build a life with me. I threw away something real for something meaningless. She took a breath. I'm in therapy now, working through a lot of things, trying to figure out why I sabotage good things, why I make such destructive choices. It doesn't change what I did, but I'm trying to be better. Good for you, I said flatly. I know you'll probably never forgive me, and I don't expect you to, but I want you to know that I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. Not because I got caught, not because I lost you, but because I hurt you. You deserved so much better than what I gave you. I looked at her, this person I'd loved, who I'd planned a future with. She looked different somehow. Older, maybe. More tired. The shine was gone. You're right, I said. I did deserve better. I'm glad you're getting help, Rachel. I genuinely hope you figure out your issues and don't do this to someone else. But we are done. We've been done. And I need you to accept that and leave me alone. She nodded, her eyes getting wet. Okay. I needed you to know I was sorry. That I know what I did was unforgivable. Apology noted, I said. Goodbye, Rachel. She left, and I went back to my laptop, and that was it. No dramatic reconciliation, no closure, just the end of something that had ended 6 months ago. I think that's what closure really is, actually. Not some big moment or conversation or realization. Just the slow process of moving forward, of letting go, of building a new life without the person who hurt you in it. Rachel cheated on me while I was working my hardest to buy her a car. She betrayed me in the worst way possible. And I made sure she paid, not with suffering or revenge or public humiliation, but by taking the symbol of my love and sacrifice and turning it into something that actually mattered. I took back more than she knows. I took back my self-respect. I took back my future. I took back my ability to trust and love and be vulnerable, even though it's scary and even though it might hurt again. She's stuck being the person who threw away something good. I get to be the person who survived it and came out stronger. I know which one I'd rather be. And that $15,000? It's still helping women rebuild their lives, still making a difference, still turning my worst moment into someone else's second chance. The charity sends me quarterly updates, and every time I read about another woman who got help, another life that was changed, I feel something lift. Rachel wanted a car. Instead, she got her name on a donor wall and a reminder of what she destroyed. I wanted to give her the world. Instead, I gave the money to people who actually deserved it. Seems like a fair trade to me. So yeah, that's my story. My girlfriend cheated on me while I was killing myself to buy her a car, and I donated all the money to charity in her name. Do I regret it? Not for a second. I took back more than she knows. I took back everything.